First we're going to go through some key words. When you are translating equations, if you see the word is, that means equals. So we have similar words for our inequality signs. Is more than or is greater than is our greater than sign. Is less than or is fewer than would then be our less than sign. Remember the trick that I showed you? Your less than sign kind of spells the word less because that looks like an L, at least more than an L than this one does. Greater than or equal to has that line underneath. It has half of the equal sign. Less than or equal to, again, has half of the equal sign underneath. These next two can be kind of tricky, but if you think about it, like in the real world, you can figure it out. If you see is at least, if you think to yourself, I have at least $5 in my pocket, could you have more than that? Yeah. Could you have $5? So more than or equal to 5. At most is the opposite. If I have at most $5, that is the highest amount I can have. At most means that's the highest. So could I have less than 5? So at most would be less than or equal to. At most and at least are opposites. This should say is at most. No less than means I can't have less than this amount. So if I have no less than $5 in my pocket, I could have $5. Could I have less than that? Can't have less than that. You have to have more than that. So no less than is greater than or equal to. And then the opposite would be no more than. So add this one in. What should no more than be? Less than or equal to. Alright, so when we read problems, we just have to read them and translate them directly into numbers. Twice a number. How do I say this in numbers? 2n. Increased by, what does that mean? Plus. And then we have our number. Is at least. Is that greater than or equal to or less than or equal to? Greater than or equal to 6. So all you're doing is reading it and writing what you read as numbers. You're translating it into numbers. What does quotient mean? Division. And what two things are we dividing? A number and negative 5. So n divided by negative 5. Decreased by, what does that mean? Minus, and we're subtracting 2, is no more than, what's that? Less than or equal to 3. Alright? 4 times, what does this mean? 4 times. The sum of a number and 7, what does that mean? What about plus?
N plus 7.
What about n plus 7?
In parentheses.
Why is it in parentheses?
4 times
Because it says the sum of. That means we need the answer to that addition problem first, and then we can multiply by 4. So the sum of is the answer to the addition problem. Order of operations, we need to specify we do that first. To specify we do something first, we use parentheses. Is at least, what's that one? Greater than or equal to 3. Number 4 says 8 less than. What is less than? Subtract. What number are we subtracting? We're going to subtract 8. Now, that is tricky. Less than is a special word. If I said I have 10 cookies and Eddie has 7 less cookies than I do.
Wait, I have 7 less cookies.
Unfortunately, how many cookies would you have? 3. 7 less than 10 is 3. 10 minus 7 is 3. So 7 less than 10 is 10 minus 7. 8 less than something is whatever that is minus 8. And what are we subtracting from? Negative 3 times a number. We're taking that and then subtracting 8 from it because of this special less than word. Is at most, what does that mean? Less than or equal to? Negative 14. All right, what questions do you guys have? All right, on the back, these are numbers. You could translate them into words. There are a lot of different ways you could see them translated. This could be the product of 5 and a number decreased by 3. It could also be 3 less than 5 times the number. You could see it either way. What words do I write for this sign?
What is more than? What is greater?
Is greater than is fine too, or is more than. Sorry, I ran out of room. 16. Sometimes you'll see these words written out. Sometimes you'll see them as, you'll see the numbers written out. Sometimes you'll just see them as numbers. The only reason I wrote the numbers is because I knew I was going to run out of room. This could be the quotient of a number and 2. This could be a number divided by 2. This could be half of a number. And to say that I'm adding, I wrote increased by 5. So half a number is this d over 2, increased by 5. And then less than or equal to negative 3 is at most negative 3, is no more than negative 3. Any of those work. So there are a lot of different words you could see for the less than or equal to sign. Aiden, do you have a question? No? Okay. So on your test, which is when? Wednesday. You're going to have 2 translating problems. One of them, it will give you numbers, and you will have multiple choice words to match it to. One of them will give you words, and you'll have multiple choice numbers to match it to. So it will always be multiple choice. You just have to be comfortable going both ways. Good question? Okay. 21. All right, word problems. Number 1 says, Jessica wants to buy a Fitbit Fire that costs $208. I'm going to box that. I know it's important. She already has $50 saved and makes $8 per hour. So all of those numbers are important. How many hours, this is my question, will she have to work in order to have at least enough to pay for the Fitbit? I don't want to know an exact number of hours she has to work. I want to know that minimum amount of hours she has to work. So what are we looking for? Someone said it. Hours. H for hours, that's our variable, that's what we need to find. Since we need to find it, we use a variable to represent it. And this is our inequality. One thing is the amount of money she needs to save, the other is the amount of money she has. So she has $50, and she will also have $8 for every hour she works. So this would be the money in her bank account. $50 is already there. She's going to earn $8 every hour she works. And we need to compare that to the Fitbit that she has to, or she wants to buy. So So what do you want to be more, the Fitbit or the amount of money she has?
Money.
You want the amount of money she has, so make sure your inequality sign is facing towards that bigger number. You want her to have more money than the Fitbit costs, so the inequality sign eats the bigger number. 50 plus 8h should be greater than or equal to 208. Okay? And then we solve it. Subtract 50 from both sides. 8h is greater than or equal to 158. Divide both sides by 8. And h is greater than or equal to 19.75. So, what is the minimum number of hours she needs to work? Point. Okay. And if she works 20 hours, does she have enough money to buy the Fitbit? Yeah, she'll have a little bit extra. She'll have $2 extra, I think. Okay. Number 2. Mariella's parents have budgeted $575 for a quinceañera. The cost of the room is $75, and each person's meal is $15. What is the maximum number of guests she can have to stay within the budget? So what are we looking for? How many people? So we can use P for people. We could use G for guests too. It doesn't matter what letter it is. You could just use X if you're comfortable with X. So the two things we're comparing is the budget and what she's spending. So the budget is $575, and the amount she's spending is the $75 for the room and $15 for every person's meal. So if you only invite one person, you only pay $15, but you still have to pay for the room. If you invite 100 people, you pay $150 for food, and you would still pay $75 for the room. So, what do you want to be more, the budget or the amount that you spend? The budget. If the amount you spend is more, then you're paying too much money. You've gone over budget, so we want to make sure our budget is more this time. And then we solve it. Subtract 75 from both sides. 500 is greater than or equal to 15p. Divide both sides by 15. And I don't know what that is. Okay, so 33.3 repeating is greater than or equal to the number of people. We could also write that as P is less than or equal to 33.3. Can you have a third of a person? Okay.
What?
No. If you invite 34 people, will you stay within your budget? No. So we want to write P is less than or equal to 33 people. So make sure you round down appropriately. So you can invite 33 people. You'll be really close to your budget. Or you can invite like 20 people and you'll be comfortably within your budget.
What?
Or you can invite 50 people and then your parents will be very mad.
The one chair was stupid crap.
Mm-hmm.